He picked one, and the world has never been the same since.
On a July morning in 1945, one man sat alone with a decision that no human being had ever faced before. Not a general, not a soldier, a president sitting at a desk.
President Anderson, members of the faculty, Board of Trustees,
holding the power to end a war by killing more civilians in a single morning than most wars kill in years. This is the story of the moment one ordinary man was handed a godlike decision, and what it tells us about every president who's faced one since.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
To understand why this day mattered so much, you have to understand who John F. Kennedy was. At 46, he was the youngest elected president in American history, married to a woman the whole world was obsessed with, and leading a country that had just survived the closest the world ever came to nuclear war, the Cuban Missile Crisis, just 1 year earlier. He wasn't just popular, he represented something, a kind of hope that the country was moving into a new era. Which is exactly why what happened in Dallas felt less like a tragedy and more like a wound that never fully closed. On the morning of November 22nd, Kennedy's motorcade rolled slowly through downtown Dallas. Crowds lined the streets. Jackie Kennedy sat beside him in a pink suit. Nobody in that car had any idea they had less than 30 minutes left. At 12:30 p.m., as the motorcade passed the Texas School Book Depository, shots rang out. In just 6 seconds, President Kennedy was struck. Governor John Connally, riding in the same car, was also hit. Within minutes, Kennedy was rushed to Parkland Hospital. He was pronounced dead less than an hour later.
Car, another Secret Service man spread eagle over them. We don't know. Perhaps there was some hit in that car as well. We're not sure.
The man identified as the shooter was Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine who worked inside that same book depository building. He was arrested less than 90 minutes after the shooting, found hiding inside a nearby movie theater. Then, just 2 days later, while being transferred between jails, live on national television, Oswald himself was shot and killed by a Dallas nightclub owner named Jack Ruby. America watched its only suspect die before he ever spoke a word in a courtroom. 1 week after the assassination, President Lyndon Johnson, Kennedy's own vice president, now suddenly president, created a commission to investigate everything. It was led by the Chief Justice of the United States himself, Earl Warren. It became known simply as the Warren Commission. After nearly a year of work, interviewing over 550 witnesses and reviewing thousands of documents,
What happened?
Well, the president was shot in Texas. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I tell you, it upsets me very much to hear that, because that's the only man that I got my trust in for president.
the commission released its conclusion. Oswald acted completely alone. No conspiracy, no accomplices. One man, one rifle, 3 shots from a 6th-floor window. For many Americans, that should have been the end of it. Instead, it was the beginning of decades of doubt. Critics immediately pointed to specific problems.
By the time the 3rd shot was fired, I was coming around to cement a button up here, and as I came around, I looked.
Witnesses near a grassy knoll who swore they heard shots from the front, not just from behind. A bullet trajectory that some experts found difficult to explain. The bizarre fact that the same FBI and CIA being investigated for their own failures were the same agencies feeding evidence to the commission meant to judge them.
Created by President Johnson, which was headed by the Chief Justice himself.
going for 100 years.
Here's the part most people don't know. The story didn't end with the Warren Commission. In 1976, a Senate committee called the Church Committee re-examined the investigation.
Have not been interrogated fully on this matter. The subcommittee was unable to do it in the time available, and there are important leads that were uncovered.
And concluded the original work had been, in their words, deficient, meaning facts that could have changed the outcome were never properly given to the commission in the first place.
Of President Kennedy's assassination and their cover-up to the Warren Commission.
I would like to recognize Mr.
Then in 1979, a separate congressional committee, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, went even further.
For the past 62 years, the Central Intelligence Agency has actively and continuously obstructed
After reviewing new acoustic evidence, they concluded Kennedy was, quote, probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. They just couldn't determine who else, if anyone, was involved. Think about that for a moment. Two separate official U.S. government investigations, conducted years apart, both raised serious doubts about the original lone gunman conclusion that the public had already been told to accept as fact. That's not a fringe theory. That's the United States government, on the record, disagreeing with itself.
However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal.
Some of the assassination files relating to this case stayed classified for decades, some not fully released until 2017 and 2018, more than 50 years after Kennedy died. Every time another batch of documents became public, it reignited the same question: what exactly took so long, and why? To be clear, no official investigation since has overturned Oswald as the shooter. The physical evidence connecting him to the rifle and the scene is well documented. What remains genuinely disputed isn't whether Oswald fired shots. It's whether he acted completely alone and whether everything that could have been investigated was. That gap between this is probably what happened, and this is exactly and completely what happened, is where 6 decades of theories, books, and documentaries have lived ever since. This case changed something fundamental in America. It was one of the first moments a huge portion of the public stopped automatically trusting an official government conclusion, simply because it was official. More than 60 years later, John F. Kennedy's assassination remains one of the most investigated deaths in human history, and somehow, also one of the least settled. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not which theory is correct, but what it means when an entire country can investigate something for 60 years and still not be able to say, with total certainty, that they have the whole truth. If stories like this, real history, real unanswered questions, are the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe.